Well, if you are transitioning to cloud from native code worlds such as TensorFlow or PyTorch, and you want to use your existing model in SageMaker instead of built-in algorithms, or maybe you want to design a complex model yourself from scratch, SageMaker is still the right place for you. SageMaker supports nearly all popular ML frameworks in Python and R. So the list includes Apache MXNet. Apache MXNet is a widely used open source deep learning framework that primarily focuses on large scale production deployments. And the large companies such as Microsoft, Intel, and Amazon itself use it. So you can easily train your own custom MXNet model in SageMaker, and you can deploy your own trained model using a SageMaker endpoint. If you have trained the model locally or somewhere else, you can still deploy it with SageMaker endpoint. Apache Spark is a general-purpose distributed data processing engine which is suitable for a wide range of situations. In particular, it is useful for big data processing both at scale and at high speeds. Sometimes you have a lot of data and you want to use the pre-processing capabilities of Spark to process it and then train it in SageMaker using SageMaker's built-in algorithms. So SageMaker provides an Apache Spark library in both Python and Scala that you can use to easily train models in SageMaker. So the steps for training in SageMaker are you need to pre-process the data with Spark. Spark will provide you a data frame. So you can pass that data frame into any SageMaker estimator such as K-means estimator and use the fit function for model training. The estimator will return a SageMaker model. You can also convert the Spark generated data frame to protobuf format. Next step is to perform inferences using SageMaker model.transform or SageMaker model can be directly used to deploy on endpoint. The list goes on, and we have Chainer as a supported framework that is a open source deep learning framework that primarily focuses on efficient development of complex neural networks. So you must be wondering, TensorFlow and PyTorch do the same. But state-of-the-art performance and new applications are now coming from more complex networks such as recurrent or stochastic neural networks. So you can use existing frameworks with these kind of complex networks by using some hacks. So these hacks can reduce development efficiency and maintainability of the code. Chainer builds the computational graph on the fly, unlike its competitors. So this gives users more flexibility to change the graph, debug, and refactor the code, which leads in turn to faster iteration and greater ability to quickly realize cutting-edge deep learning algorithms. But Chainer community is relatively small, and you can train a Chainer model in SageMaker, deploy the trained model, or you have locally trained Chainer model, you can also deploy it with SageMaker. Next, we have PyTorch, that is an open source machine learning framework popular in research community. It is good for rapid prototyping. Facebook recently merged Caffe2 into the PyTorch project to support productionalization and serving PyTorch-based models. With SageMaker, you can build all sorts of applications using PyTorch instead of built-in algorithms. So you can train a PyTorch model, host a trained model using an endpoint, or even deploy a model that has not been trained in SageMaker. Next, we have scikit-learn. So everyone in the machine learning community knows about it. Scikit-learn is the most simple, useful, and robust library for machine learning in Python. It provides Python implementation of various standard algorithms for tasks such as clustering, classification, regression, and much more. So SageMaker allows you to easily use scikit-learn like any other Python library. Next, we have SparkML that allows us to implement scalable machine learning algorithms on top of big distributed pre-processed data using MLlib. So Apache Spark is well suited for batch processing use cases and is not the preferred solution for low latency online inference scenarios. So if you want to perform low latency online prediction, SageMaker provides SageMaker SparkML serving container that leverages an open source library called MLlib. And then SageMaker allows us to train our models using MLlib, convert those to MLlib format for low latency inferences in future. And we also have TensorFlow as a supported framework that has widely been used in production level ML. TensorFlow offers even distributed training and inferences as well as small models for mobile and embedded devices. SageMaker allows all sorts of development processes with TensorFlow 1.1.1 or later. We have R, that is a free programming language popular among data scientists and researchers for statistical computing and graphics. So all of this makes R an ideal choice for data science, big data analysis, and machine learning. SageMaker allows default R kernels, and you can also use R interface to interact with standard SageMaker Python SDK using different libraries. In this demo, we will explore how other supported frameworks like TensorFlow can be used in SageMaker for model training. So we will load Fashion MNIST dataset. We will create a training script for TensorFlow Keras model and then train the model using TensorFlow Estimator and perform inference by deploying an endpoint. We are using Python 3 TensorFlow 2.1 kernel for this notebook. First step is installing few libraries which are necessary, such as Matplotlib. Now we need a SageMaker session and the role to perform different actions. We will import few TensorFlow libraries that would be helpful in Keras model training. We are using Fashion MNIST dataset, which is already located in Keras models dataset. So we will download the dataset from keras.datasets import Fashion MNIST. We will plot a few samples from the dataset. We have class names as t-shirt, trouser, pullover, dress, coat, sandal, shirt, sneaker, bag, and ankle boot. So we will get 25 samples from our training dataset and take a look at how these images look like. So they look like grayscale images of different stuff. We can also take a look at the class frequencies if our dataset is labeled or not labeled. So the dataset is fully class balanced. We can also store the dataset to S3, which is an important step for model training in SageMaker. Like other built-in algorithms, if we want to use TensorFlow Estimator, we again need to save the data on S3. But this time we are storing NumPy zipped files to S3 instead of CSVs or Record.io protobuf, etc. Now we need to create some code and train a Keras model locally. So I have this data preparation code that would convert the data shape into the required format by adding an axis for channel. Then I'm going to convert the categorical labels to numeric ones. Then we will initialize a Keras model. This is a convolutional model, and this is the usual code which we can run on any notebook. And if this code is working, it means this code will work in TF Estimator as well. So we will create a script file. So script file will be like this code, but we need to take into account some other parameters. We need to add a model directory. We need to pass number of GPUs, output data directory, and the input channels like we did for built-in algorithms. So our script should handle model directory as an additional command line argument. It should handle input channels and the output path. So the same script is copied into a class. So the init function would create a model, chain all the layers, and then we want to add the parser for command line arguments. These are few hyperparameters we can handle. So by default, it can handle all the related hyperparameters. Then we have the training dataset. We are going to pre-process the training dataset like we did earlier. We are going to compile the model, fit it, and then save the model. So this file is created. Train.py is created. We will create a TensorFlow estimator now. We'll pass the train.py as an entry point. And just like other built-in algorithms, we need instance count, instance type. We are also giving a framework version and Python version. We are also setting the script mode to true. So whenever you are working with other supported frameworks, it's better to choose this script mode. So this way we can pass all the hyperparameters. Then Again, we will create channels for training and validation and run estimator.fit. So once the job is completed, we can see the final accuracy, final training accuracy, and final validation accuracy. So these are a lot of epochs. In fact, these are not a lot of epochs. We had batch size of 64, so one epoch would also take a lot of batches. So let's see at the results. Too fast. Okay, so we are here. Our accuracy is 84 for training data and 87 for validation data. That's pretty good for one epoch. So next step is to perform inference. Similar to other built-in algorithms, we can deploy it using TensorFlow estimator we created earlier. We will predict the data just like we did for built-in algorithms. We can also take a sample of our test data, perform predictions, find the original label, and map these into matplotlib.pyplot. So we can see almost all of them are correctly identified, but this sandal was identified as sneaker. And another problem is this ankle boot was identified as sandal because the image is noisy here. At the end, don't forget to delete your endpoint. So this is how we can implement our Keras TensorFlow models in SageMaker. If you don't want to perform SageMaker training and you have locally trained model, you can also store that model in TensorFlow protobuf format and then use that model for inference straight away. In this demo, we will create a cluster in Amazon EMR and then connect that cluster to our SageMaker Studio notebook. So let's go to EMR in a new tab and select Create Cluster. Name your cluster. Okay, no, just go to Advanced Options. Wait for it, it will load few libraries. We have to set Spark and Livy. Other libraries are not important. If you want to use these, you can install them. But to connect it with SageMaker, it should have Livy and Spark installed. So press Next. Next we have hardware configuration. Master node is a must. Then you can choose number of core and task nodes as many as you want. You can also use spot instances here. You can enable cluster scaling if you have to expand your cluster in the future. Then name your cluster like my cluster 22. Provide an S3 location for logging. Add the tags if you want to. And then go next. Basically, we are using the basic settings which we can apply to connect it to the Studio notebook. You can use the other options as per your need. So the most important step is to add your studio in EC2 security groups. So we want to select a security group and there are multiple security groups for SageMaker Notebook domain, SageMaker Notebooks domain, and again SageMaker Notebooks domain. So we will go to Amazon SageMaker and Amazon SageMaker Studio. We want to see the studio ID. So it starts with D and ends with 3H. So going back to EMR, we are going to select the security group for our studio which starts with D and ends with 3H. Remember to include inbound and outbound, both types of traffic. So we will assign this security group and then create the cluster. We can also assign these security groups to our core and task nodes, but since we don't have any, we can proceed with this step. So your cluster is starting and it will change its status to waiting after some time. So in the meanwhile, let's configure our IAM for SageMaker's access. So going back to Amazon SageMaker Studio, information, find execution role for your SageMaker Studio and copy it. And then go back to IAM Management Console, type in the role in the search bar and this will bring a Studio execution role. Just open that and Now we need to add an inline policy so that this studio can access our EMR. So what should be the policy? Let's go back to our notebook. We have this policy written in the JSON format. We will copy it and then go to IAM Management Console, paste the policy here. So this policy says that the SageMaker Studio should be allowed to describe the cluster, describe security configurations, list instances. So basically, we are allowing our SageMaker to access this cluster. If you don't add this policy, it will not connect. Next step is to review the policy. Once it is reviewed, you can give it a name and just create it. Since I already have it added, I'll cancel this process. Go back to EMR and it is still starting. Meanwhile, copy this cluster ID and then again go back to your Studio notebook and paste this cluster ID here. And once the cluster state is waiting instead of starting, you can run this cell. Remember to change the kernel to Spark Magic before running this cell. Once you run the cell, it will change the configuration files and just add the address, VPC, security group, etc. from that EMR to this PySpark Magic kernel. And all you have to do is restart the kernel so that you can work with this EMR using PySpark library. If you want to connect your EMR cluster with a notebook instance in SageMaker instead of SageMaker Studio, the process is a little bit different. So in the end, don't forget to terminate your cluster from Amazon EMR. If you have termination protection on, you have to press off, tick, and then terminate it. So that's how you can connect Amazon EMR cluster with your SageMaker Studio notebook following some easy steps. And you can just unleash the power of EMR and SageMaker together. Welcome to the demo about incremental and spot managed training in SageMaker. We will take the example from our image classification demo and we will start by training a model like we do in a simple process. So we will import some important libraries. We will get the SageMaker role, the bucket, and image classification URI. Next step is to download our dataset, upload it to our S3 bucket so that model can access it. This Caltech dataset is already available in Record.io format, so we don't have to convert it. If your dataset is not in this format, you need to convert it. Then the training process will start. We have some parameters that we should take a look at. Input specification, output specification, and the resource configuration is about the instance. Then we have a list of hyperparameters which we can define in our training job. Image classification algorithm requires a GPU and the recommended instances are ML.P2 and ML.P3. In case you are a new AWS user, you should request to increase your service limit. Next, we will define our hyperparameters. According to our dataset, number of layers are 18. We have the image shape for Caltech dataset, number of training samples, number of classes, mini batch size, epochs, and learning rate. Now we will define our training job by passing important hyperparameters, the same as we can do for any algorithm. So once this training job is complete, we can see the status here. I have already ran this cell and we can see the output. We don't have to run it again. So the job ended and the status is completed. Now we have a trained model that is for image classification and we have evaluated it. We are using it in real time. But suppose after some time, after some days, months or years, the model performance is not as good as it was in the past. Now you should retrain the model and you should expand your dataset according to the new scenario. So it's not feasible for you to train from scratch because you already have a model that is working better and you spend a lot of time and money on that training. Now you want to reuse that model. So the good approach is to do incremental training. What is incremental training? It is basically when you train a new model using an expanded dataset, and the dataset is, has some pattern that was not accounted for in the previous iterations, in the previous training. And you use the same model artifacts or portion of the model artifacts from a popular publicly available model. SageMaker currently supports some models for incremental training, not all of them. You can also use incremental training when your training job was stopped and maybe due to resource limitation or something else, now you want to restart it. And you don't want to restart it from scratch. Sometimes you want to train several variants of a model with few different hyperparameters or slightly different datasets. In that case, incremental training is suitable. Another important aspect of SageMaker we are going to discuss in this demo is managed spot training. So you can save the training cost up to 90% over on-demand instances by using managed spot instances for training of your machine learning models. You can run training jobs, you can run hyperparameter tuning jobs on managed spots. The training job will be similar to on-demand instance training jobs. It just needs a stopping condition that will specify how long SageMaker waits for a job to run using spot instance. You can also set some conditions that would say, okay, use 30% of spot instances, 70% of on-demand instances, something like that. So you can manipulate the logic according to your need. And metrics and logs are generated during training runs, and they are available in CloudWatch like other training jobs. But there is a limitation: spot instances can be interrupted. So it can take for jobs to start and finish in long time. To avoid that, you can manage to use checkpoints with your spot training. So in the checkpoint scenario, it will store the training job information in S3, and whenever the job interrupts, it will not restart from scratch. Instead, it will take the information from S3 and start from that point. But if your jobs are smaller and if your algorithm does not support checkpoints, then currently max wait time is limited to 3600 seconds, that is 60 minutes. So an important parameter to pass when you are using spot training is max wait time in seconds. Now let's define a training job that would do incremental training on a spot instance. The training job is similar to the job defined above. We have this previous job. We have S3 model location this time. We also need the location of the model already trained with the previous job. This is our new job prefix, and then we have training parameters similar to the old job. Here, these are the managed spot parameters. We have enabled managed spot training, and we have max runtime in seconds and then max wait time in seconds. So you can set any of these according to your need. Another important configuration is you need to pass a model channel in your input data configuration. Just like you are passing training data and validation data, you need to pass a model channel. You will provide the S3 data source, location of your model in S3. This time content type is empty, compression type is none. And as we are doing the incremental training, so the job will fetch the model from this channel and then start the training process. If we run this job, and we will see the status is completed, now we can go to SageMaker console and training jobs and take a look at this job. So this is our incremental image classification job, and we can see we have training time of 403 seconds and the billable seconds are 121, and we saved around 70% of our cost using managed spot training. Now, similar to other training jobs, we can scroll down to see the metrics and to see the logs. So let's set it to 1 hour or maybe 3 hours. And we can see the utilizations, we can see the accuracy, number of epochs, and the accuracy, training accuracy, validation accuracy. And here our model is saved. We can also view all the matrices in Amazon CloudWatch. And if we want to deploy the model from this training job, we can create the model as well. So this is how you can use incremental training and spot training. If you want to tune a model using spot instances, in the similar way, you can define few parameters and this will go on. So that's it for this demo. Let's understand the distributed capabilities of SageMaker and the different methods associated with it. Machine learning tasks such as object detection, automatic speech recognition, and natural language processing requires exponentially large computational resources and datasets. For example, BERT, a state-of-the-art natural language processing model, trains 340 million parameters. And nowadays, state-of-the-art models such as GPT-3, T5 and Megatron are setting new accuracy records, but they require the tuning of billions of parameters. Training them on a single GPU instance can take months, slowing the process. Additionally, implementing your own parallelism techniques in complex models often takes a lot of time. So, Amazon SageMaker allows you to train complex deep learning models on large datasets with fast and easy methods. Distributed training in Amazon SageMaker uses partitioning algorithms to automatically split large deep learning models and the large training datasets across several AWS GPU instances. SageMaker also optimizes your distributed training jobs through algorithms that are designed to fully utilize AWS compute and network infrastructure to reduce the cost in order to achieve near linear scaling efficiency, which allows you to complete training faster than manual implementations. So distributed training in SageMaker can be implemented using two techniques, data parallelism and model parallelism. So, data parallelism splits large datasets across nodes to train concurrently, which reduces training time. Model parallelism, on the other hand, splits the model in parts and is distributed across several nodes for training. It only requires changing fewer than 10 lines of code in your PyTorch or TensorFlow training scripts to split the models across multiple GPUs. And you can reuse existing APIs from TensorFlow and PyTorch to quickly get up and running. Now let's understand some terminology in distributed training. We have the number of batch size, the number of samples from the dataset selected for each interval to send to the GPUs in the cluster. For example, in an image scenario, if you send about 32 images per GPU, your batch size is 32. So, in distributed training, advanced implementations provide some guidance on optimizing batch size in a warm-up period and throughout the training. And these suggestions vary depending on the data you are using. For example, you can optimize image data differently than language data. We have cluster size in distributed training, which is the number of instances multiplied by the number of GPUs in each instance. So this is the amount of raw processing power you use to train a model in a single training job. And these number of GPUs has the most impact on the timing of your training job. However, it is not the solution to throw all the power in. So communication among instances or nodes can create a lot of overhead if the instances are fewer, and which can drastically increase training time. SageMaker implements advanced distributed with optimized communication algorithms. Data parallelism is another concept, so it is a distributed training strategy that splits the dataset across multiple nodes. Now each node receives different dataset, makes its own calculations, and the results are synchronized before the next batch. We have device batch, so that is the number of records seen by a device or instance during an iteration. So this device batch is a fraction of the batch size described above. We have interval or iteration, which is a distribution of a batch of data. So a large amount of data must be broken up into batches and sent to the GPUs in mini batches. The number of intervals is equal to the number of batches it takes to get through the entire dataset. So if you have 1000 samples in your dataset, your batch size is around 50. So the interval would be 20. Epoch is one cycle through the entire dataset. Multiple intervals complete a batch and multiple batches eventually complete an epoch. So multiple epochs are run until the accuracy of the model reaches an acceptable level, or when the error rate drops below an acceptable level. We have learning rate. Similar to the concept in non-distributive machine learning, it is the step size after which the values should be changed between epochs. As the model is refined, its internal weights are nudged and error rates are checked to see if the model improves. And the optimal learning rate for a specific use case in distributed training depends on the model as well as the number of GPUs used during training and some other hyperparameters. So often learning rates are set to 0.1 or 0.01. 0.01 is much smaller adjustment and could cause the training to take a lot of time, whereas 0.1 is much larger and can cause the training to overshoot. So it is one of the primary hyperparameters that you can adjust for training your model. So for this case, you may want a warm-up period in which you set an initial low learning rate so that the neural network has a chance to stabilize new initialized layers. And with each subsequent epoch, you can gradually increase the learning rate. We have model parallel training, a distributed training strategy where the model is split across multiple nodes. So the complex models have a huge number of layers and parameters inside, making them difficult to fit in a single GPU. In that case, model parallelism provides each node with a subset of the model, and each node will carry out a subset of learning and a subset of transformations and then compile the results. We have pipeline execution schedule. So this defines pipelined execution when training a model with model parallelism. The pipeline execution schedule determines the order in which computations are made and the data is processed across devices during model training. Pipelining is a technique to achieve true parallelism in model parallelism and overcome the performance loss due to sequential computation by having the GPUs compute simultaneously on different data samples. So in comparison, true parallelism is achieved only through data parallel training, whereas model parallel training is more like a serialized training with the model divided across different nodes. So if your model can fit into single memory, you should use data parallel. However, if it is not possible, then you can use model parallelism. So when you want to choose a distributed training strategy, you should follow a few steps. You should always start with data parallel approach. If it runs out of the memory during training, you can consider some other alterations before jumping into model parallelism. So you can try to change model hyperparameters. You can reduce the batch size until it fits in. If it does not fit in even with the batch size of 1, you can try reducing input size. So you can reduce the sequence length for NLP problems, or you can downscale the image. And you should check if you use batch normalization, since this can impact convergence. When you use distributed training, your batch is split across GPUs and the effect of a much lower batch size can be higher error rate, thereby disrupting the model from converging. For example, if you prototyped your network on a single GPU with a batch size of 64, then scaled up to using 4 P3DN instance, you now have 32 GPUs and your per GPU batch size drops from 64 to 2. So this will likely break the convergence you saw with a single node. And you can start with model parallel training when your model does not fit on a single device. Due to your model size, you are facing limitations in choosing larger batch sizes, such as if your model weights take up most of your GPU memory and you are forced to choose a smaller suboptimal batch size. Many of the built-in algorithms in SageMaker were rewritten from scratch to be scalable and distributed. So it is recommended to use these algorithms instead of your own PyTorch or TensorFlow scripts whenever possible. Welcome to the demo about distributed training of Keras TensorFlow model. We know that there are two options of distributed training in SageMaker. Either we can use data parallel approach or model parallel approach. In this notebook, we will follow data parallel approach, which is the recommended approach. So we will load fashion MNIST dataset. We will create Keras TensorFlow model training script, this time with distributive parameters. Then we will train our model. This is the same notebook code we used for Keras TensorFlow model training. So the code may look familiar. We have to import SageMaker session, get the execution role, import few TensorFlow Keras libraries. Then we will load fashion MNIST dataset. This dataset has 28 by 28 images with 10 number of classes. Class names are t-shirt, trouser, pullover, etc. We can take a look at the samples from the dataset. These are the grayscale images, so it means number of channels is 1. We can also take a look at the class distributions, and the dataset is balanced. Next step is to store the dataset into NumPy zip format. This will take less space on the disk. Then we will upload this NPy-Z file to our S3 bucket. Then we will create a Keras script that would run on this data and train a model. So we will add the column for channel information. We will convert the data into float32 type. We will normalize our values and apply the encoding in our label column. Then we will initialize a convolutional neural network in Keras. So if we run this code and it's working, it's mean we can just add this code in our script and it will work there too. So let's go ahead, create our script file. So it is similar to our old script file, but this time we are going to use SageMaker distributed.data parallel module. And the supported instances are ml.p316xlarge, p3d and p4d. And if you are using a new account in SageMaker like I'm using, you will definitely get an error or warning about resource limit. So you have to request service limit increase for this demo. So coming back to our training script, we have this SageMaker data parallel library. We will initialize it, create our Keras model like we did earlier. All the same process, just in the end, we will not compile the model straightforwardly. We will create a function that is a training step. So this function will basically make the distributed library work. So this will get the distributed gradient tape. This will broadcast all the model variables to all the nodes so that they can use the same model on the data, collect all the results to the master node and just calculate the metrics and then broadcast all the hyperparameters to all the nodes again. This is how distribution works. Then we will call this training step function for each batch. So if your batch size is 128, for a 128 batch, this distribution will work. Then for the next 128 batch, this function will be called. In the end, when the rank is 0, we will save the checkpoint from the master node. Because master node has the final results, not the other nodes. Then we will create our TensorFlow estimator. Pass this train.py file as an entry point, pass the role. This time we don't have to use MLM4xlarge instance. Instead, we will use the instance that is supported by the distributed library. We will also pass the distribution parameters, data parallel, and then true as enabled. And remember that you have to update your framework version for TensorFlow as well. In the old notebook, we used 2.1. But for this demo for data distributive library, we need to use 2.4.1 framework version or the latest. Then we will run the estimator.fit on our dataset and it will run just like our old fit function we used in the other notebook. And then we can deploy and create an endpoint using our estimator, predict some data, and then delete our endpoint. In the similar way, you can also introduce model parallel techniques in TensorFlow. Another advanced functionality in SageMaker is SageMaker's Autopilot. It is a feature set that automates key tasks of an automatic machine learning process. Basically, it utilizes AutoML. So it accepts tabular raw data from Amazon S3, which you want to use for training of the model, and select the target column to predict. Then AutoML will explore the data, find the suitable algorithm that is relevant to your data, pre-process the data according to that algorithm, perform model training and tuning. In this whole process, you get the full visibility and control. Before that, AutoML was considered a black box. But now, SageMaker's Autopilot provide all the generated code and notebooks where you can see. So you can explore the candidate notebooks. It also explains the decisions by telling the importance of each feature. So the notebooks generated by AutoML provides educational tools that enable you to learn about and conduct your own ML experiments. You can learn the impact of various inputs and the trade-offs made in the experiments by examining the various data exploration and candidate definition notebooks produced by Autopilot. So let's start using Autopilot by going to our AWS SageMaker Studio. Once we are in our studio, we can easily go to new Autopilot experiment from the launcher. So my Autopilot experiment name is AutoML Dry Beans because I want to classify dry beans. And you can locate your S3 bucket where the data is residing. You can either enter an S3 bucket location or you can select it from these drop-downs. And press it if your S3 input is a manifest file. It means it also has metadata along with the input data, but our file is just a simple CSV. We also need to specify the target variable ourselves, so we have class as the target variable. Then it requires an output location for storing all the results. You can also select the machine learning problem type, either it's binary classification, regression, or multi-class classification, or you can choose auto. Now, do you want to run a complete experiment? So if you don't want to run the complete experiment, you just want notebooks with candidate definitions, you can press no. So do you want to deploy it automatically as well? So for the deployment, there are some service limits which SageMaker has. For example, if you don't have specific instances in your quota, then you will be unable to run the AutoML service. So you need to check it before running the AutoML jobs. Next, there is IAM role, encryption key, and virtual private cloud, which is optional. We have max trials in seconds and max job in seconds. So we have used smaller number of seconds so the job can be finished earlier and we can see the results. And then you can also choose max number of candidates. Let's create the experiment. So now a default experiment generates 250 models that can take hours to complete. So we can come back later to see the experiment results. And we can also stop the experiments from here. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the dataset we are using in Kaggle. So we are using dry beans dataset, which are images of 13,000 grains of 7 different registered dry beans. So it is a multi-class classification, and since it is CSV data, we can easily use it for the experimentation purposes. You cannot use image data or text files or something else with Autopilot. You can only use JSON files and CSV files, and you need to have these uploaded in your S3 bucket beforehand. Now let's go back to our Autopilot experiment page in the SageMaker Studio. So for now, it's shuffling and splitting our data for pre-processing so that we can get accurate results. So let's pause and come back later when the job is finished. Once our Autopilot job is complete, we can take a look at this type of job profile where we can see all the configuration, we can see the best candidate, and the S3 location for all the data. At the top right, we can see there are 2 notebooks created. One is data exploration, the other is candidate generation. Let's take a look at this auto-generated code. So we have data exploration notebook, which is first step before training. We have to explore the data, find its qualities, find the features out of it, and then we can select the algorithm based on our analysis. So at this stage, our training dataset has 13,000 rows and 17 columns, and we have the target column as class, and these are 7 classes available in our target column. So first of all, it has provided us a data sample, so we can verify it with our own CSV data and see if it is correct. Next step is to analyze all the columns. So first, we want to see if there are any missing values. This is an important step in data exploration part because missing values impact the training process very badly. So there are no missing values in our data. If there were any, we have to do something about it in the pre-processing step. Next step is to involve the statistics. Now we have count statistics. We want to know if there are any unique entries for categorical columns. If there are any, they should not be too large because that would be very difficult to handle for the models. So we only have 7 unique entries for the class variable, and then all the other variables are numeric. So we have a lot of unique entries, but if they were string or categorical, this much unique entries would cause a problem. Next step is descriptive statistics. So we are calculating the mean and median, and we want to know if the values of our numerical columns are outside some specific range. They may indicate a bug in our data collection process or a noisy sample in our data. Again, we can use domain knowledge here. Next notebook we have is candidate generation notebook. If we want to run the code of this notebook, we need to press the import notebook button. This will open the notebook in a new tab. Then we have to select the preferred kernel. That would be data science. And the instance type will be automatically selected. This notebook provides us the workflow of our autopilot job. We can also customize the candidate definitions and execute the workflow ourselves. So this is a good starting point to work with SageMaker's autopilot. And all the models, all the tuning jobs work to maximize the accuracy. That is the quality metric for the trained models. In the process of AutoML job, input dataset was randomly splitted into 2 pieces, training and validation. So this notebook will apply some data transformations suggested by the Amazon SageMaker Autopilot. We can train the data transformation models and then use them to transform the data. Next step is to create a hyperparameter optimization job that can help us find the best model for our dataset by jointly optimizing the data transformation with machine learning algorithms. So whole pipeline will be tuned and the best one will be selected. Now let's take a look at the generated code. We have minimal environment requirements to run this code. It will download all the artifacts from the S3 bucket. If you go to your S3 bucket and take a look at this prefix, you can find the notebooks and the artifacts generated and placed there. We can take a look at the job configuration here. So this job is using XGBoost and linear learners. Based on the data exploration step, the algorithms selected for this job are XGBoost and linear learner. Next step is to take a look at the candidate pipelines for data transformation. Basically, we have 3 candidates for data transformation. They have different names such as DPP 0, 1 and 2. And the algorithms are XGBoost for the first, XGBoost for the second, and again linear learner for the third one. If we want to take a look at what these data transformers are doing, we can click the py files next to these and take a look at the code. So this DPP1 algorithm is applying PCA on the input data. And next we have this linear learner, which is DPP2, and it is applying robust standard scalar only. So this way we can take a look at the data transformers. Next step is to fit these data transformers and find the good one. So if we run this code ourselves, we can take a look at the training jobs. It has executed the XGBoost model. In the next step, it used second XGBoost model. Autopilot uses sklearn library to get the models, train them, tune them, and do some data transformation. So basically, it is built on top of sklearn. So this is an example of how small things or libraries can turn into very useful big things. Next step is to tune a multi-algorithm hyperparameter job. So we have some static hyperparameters which will be same throughout the training process. We have some objective metrics. Next step is to define the ranges. So we have a lot of parameters for XGBoost model, a fewer for linear learner. Once the ranges and the static hyperparameters are defined, we can run our hyperparameter tuner. Once the tuning is complete, we can get the job result overview by running this code, and we can also select the best candidate from above and implement a pipeline. So our pipeline will contain a data transformer and a machine learning algorithm. We can also deploy this pipeline using the same notebook. So this is how autopilot works in SageMaker. This is a good starting point if you have a lot of data and you don't have enough domain knowledge and you want to avoid the burden of selecting the right algorithm yourself. From this notebook, you can customize different stuff and run your experiments. Another advanced functionality in SageMaker is Amazon SageMaker Debugger that can be used to optimize ML models with real-time monitoring of training metrics and system resources. So sometimes we are working on a training job and we just start the job and it's pretty expensive job. It can be a hyperparameter tuning job which can take hours, and when we come back we want to see the results. But instead of the results, we find something like a resource bottleneck. We find an error about CPU utilization or memory limits and we are just disappointed. So we can use Amazon SageMaker Debugger for this kind of work. It will monitor the jobs and it will automatically create an alert if anything happens. So what it can monitor is it can detect, analyze and alert different stuff such as gradient values becoming too large or too small. And it can also take a look at the resource utilization and find the anomalies in it. It can tell us about overutilized CPUs or something like that. It can even generate a report about it, and it can cause an CloudWatch alarm or CloudWatch event. It will change the state of the event, and if we want to take actions based on that CloudWatch event, it can also be integrated with AWS Lambda to take actions. It supports multiple frameworks such as PyTorch, MXNet, Keras, TensorFlow, and XGBoost. And it also provides us built-in analytics. So if you want to use the built-in analytics feature, you can use it in Amazon SageMaker Studio. And you can also use code to get the insights. So both are supported. Now let's go to our Amazon SageMaker Studio and see how we can integrate this debugger into our Keras model. So we are back to Studio and we use this notebook for Keras model training on FashionAmnist dataset in SageMaker. In this notebook, we don't have to change much to utilize the debugger. So this code will be same. We have FashionAmnist data sample, everything. We have a Keras script to be sent as an entry point. All we have to do is create a SageMaker rule. We have different built-in rules. We can choose any of them. Some built-in rules are exploding tensors, or we even have profile report. We have overfit rule. So we can use any desired rule that can be built in, or we can design our own custom rules as well. Next step is to pass these rules into our estimator. Once we pass these rules into estimator and training job is started, so we can go to experiments and trials tab in the left sidebar and find our training job. So if I click on the home button, I can see there are unassigned trial components because our training job was not assigned to any experiment. That's why it would be in unassigned trial components. And now we can see this is the training job and this is the latest training job. So that's definitely what we want to see. Otherwise, you can just check the name and verify it. So we will right click on the job and press Open Debugger for insights. And it will take a few moments because the debugger will take an instance and run all the analytics on that instance. So we should be careful about the cost. The instance is MLM5 4x large. So if you don't want to use that instance due to pricing or other limitations, you can use code. So go back to the instance. We have resource utilization summary. That is how much network has been used, CPU memory, input, output, and if there were any CPU bottlenecks. And there are some insights about batch size, GPU utilization, and GPU memory increase, step outlier. So these are different issues which this debugger can recognize. So if this tab is open, an ML M5 4x large instance is running. So if you want to close the instance, you need to close this tab. The instance will automatically be closed. You can also download the report from here. If we don't want to use the debugger in Studio, instead we want to code all the debugging and monitoring ourselves, we can set the weight is equal to false in our estimator's fit function. Next, we can run this code that would find the jobs running by our estimator and provide us the progress of the jobs. So it is constantly keeping an eye on the job, what is the status, what is the secondary status, and what is the rule it's been debugging. So it's using exploding tensor rule. We can also get the CloudWatch URL of our job where the event is created. So this was one of the many options available to use SageMaker's debugger in model training and tuning. For the exam, you should have an idea what debugger is, what benefits it provides, and what frameworks are supported, and a high-level idea of how it works. For more practice, you can start using this notebook and then dig deeper using other options and other built-in rules available in the SageMaker documents. SageMaker experiments. So this is another great feature in Amazon SageMaker that takes off your burden of keeping track of different algorithms, different combination of parameters, and observing the impact of the changes on the model training. So basically, machine learning is an iterative process. So when you start modeling your problem into a machine learning problem, you work with a lot of data, you change a lot of parameters, you always check a lot of algorithms, tune them, and find out the best one. So it is a burden to keep track of all of your experiments and then choose the best one. SageMaker Experiments does that for you. And this feature is only available in SageMaker Studio. So experiments can automatically track the inputs, parameters, configurations, and results of your iterations as trials. Basically, an experiment is a collection of related trials, and you can add trials to an experiment as many as you want. Then trial is basically a multi-step machine learning workflow. Each step in the workflow is described by a trial component. And then we have trial component that is a single step in the machine learning workflow. For example, a trial component can be data cleaning, feature extraction, model training, model evaluation. We also have a tracker in experiments, so there is a Python context manager for logging information about a single trial component. And there are multiple ways you can use SageMaker experiments. You can organize your experiments, you can track them, you can compare and evaluate them. And SageMaker Autopilot also uses experiments. So SageMaker Autopilot basically runs different jobs and then select the right one. So it uses experiments to keep the track of all the jobs. Now let's go back to our Studio interface and see how we can check an experiment and compare different trials. Back to our Studio, we ran our AutoML dry beans job. So when we go to the experiments tab in this left sidebar, we can see there are different experiments. Sometimes there are unassigned trial components as well when you have training jobs and you attach something with it, but you do not add it into an experiment, then it is unassigned trial component. But we named our job as AutoML dry beans 1, so we have this available under the experiments and trials tab. At the right side, we can see there are 3 trials and the best one is the top one. If we click on an individual trial, we can see we can also deploy the model from this trial if we want to. But for now, let's open the trial in components list. So this is a leaderboard where you can see all the trial components in a single trial. We can see there are different tags we can associate with it, and there are different filters. So what you want to see. We also want to take a look at the matrices, and sometimes we want to take a look at the hyperparameters, so we can always change the settings and look at them. So this is very easy to manage. We have validation macro recall, objective metrics, and multi-class accuracy, so we can also sort them out and pick the top one. So these are the different options we have. We can also take a look at the individual trial. So this way we can open the trial component. That was trial component list, and when we want to see an individual trial, we can open trial component. So we have charts, metrics, parameters, artifacts, and we also have AWS settings used for the trial, the billable time, training image, instance type, everything. From here, we can also access the debugger. So now you can create custom charts if you want to, suppose, show the results to your colleagues or your customers. Then you can also create custom charts. So let's choose a metric that would be, I want to see the objective loss. And this way, at this time, that was the maximum. So this way we can add multiple charts here. Now, if you are not a UI person, in fact, you are a code person and you want to code with the experiments, play with the API and do your stuff, you can also do that with SageMaker's Experiments API. So all we have to do is install SageMaker Experiments in our notebook. So this notebook is running using Python 3 data science kernel, and we are going to get the experiment by its name. You can find the name from this experiments and trials tab in left sidebar and just type in the name here. Then we get this analytic table that we already saw in the UI. So this table also contains different matrices. So it has all the stuff in it as a pandas data frame. Now you can do anything with this pandas data frame. You can map different metrics, you can play with the charts, you can do anything. And don't forget to clear all the experiments and the endpoints created by the experiments to save the cost and avoid heavy charges. So this way you can take a look at the experiments and trials in SageMaker Studio, and you can also use a Studio notebook to take a look at the experiments, trials and compare them. Explainability using SageMaker Clarify. So in the old days, whenever you have artificial intelligence for a certain process, you would say it's a black box. All the neural networks are black boxes. And if someone asks a machine learning engineer why your model took this specific decision, he would say it's a black box. But now explainable AI is in demand, and people, consumers, regulators want to know what is the reason behind a certain decision. So it is important to understand the model behavior before deployment and debug different predictions provided by the model even after the deployment. It also helps incorporate transparency in our ML workflow, which is critical to consumers and regulators who need to trust the model predictions. So SageMaker Clarify comes here. It uses a model agnostic feature attribution approach, which can be used to understand why a model made a prediction after training and to provide per instance explanation during inference. It uses Shape, which is a scalable, efficient implementation of the original Shape algorithm, which is based on the concept of a Shapley value from the field of cooperative game theory. And there are two types of explanations. We can get the global explanation, which is overall behavior of the model. We can get the local explanation, which is the behavior of the model towards a specific sample. So let's go and get our session bucket role information, import few libraries. We are going to use a dataset from SageMaker Clarify utils because It also has a function that would convert the dataset into readable format. So we are going to use German lending dataset. That dataset classifies people described by a set of attributes as a good or bad credit risk. And this is openly available in UCI machine learning repository. There are different columns: checking account status, maturity months, credit history, purpose, loan amount, etc. We will use the function German lending readable values to convert the original dataset into a readable format. So this is the readable format. If we explore the dataset, we can see different attributes, etc. We can just plot the foreign workers. We can see there are a lot of foreign workers. Next step is to split the dataset into test and training, encode the features. So feature encoding is important when your features are categorical, because machine learning models will understand the numeric data. So this function will go through each column, find the type of the column, and if it needs encoding, it will encode it. After that, it will create a CSV file. And remember that when you are using linear learner algorithm, it expects that your label column is the first column. So we need to move the target column here. These are the columns that were changed during encoding process. And after encoding, our dataset will look like this, a lot of numbers. We will upload our CSV files to S3, and then we will call our linear learner estimator. We have instance count, instance type, hyperparameters according to our dataset, and then we will fit it on the training input. Once the training job is completed, here comes the SageMaker clarifier to understand the behavior of the model. First, we will create the model out of the training job so that our SageMaker clarifier can use this model and deploy an endpoint to get the predictions. Once it has all the predictions, it will analyze them. We have to configure the shape values. We have to provide a baseline dataset. Either you can provide a full dataset as a background dataset, or you can choose few samples. For now, we are using 21 samples from our test dataset. Then we have an output path to store our explainability report. We have this data configuration where we will provide the input data, output path for explainability report, our target label, headers, and the dataset type. Next, we will run the explainability job. Once this explainability job is complete, we can go to Experiments and Trials tab in SageMaker, find our job in Unassigned Trial Components, open Trial Details, and we can see a graph here, which is a global explanation. It portrays the importance of features in terms of shape values. So we can see that good and bad class has the most impact on the predictions. We can also download the PDF report or even raw data. But sometimes we want to know about a specific sample. So let's go back to our notebook. We have this code to find out about an individual sample. Basically, all the local explanations are stored in our output path, so we can use that to visualize the explanation. Just read the CSV in Pandas data frame, get the feature's name, column's name, select a sample which you want to see. So we want to see 111. Let's select and locate that sample from the CSV and print everything out. So basically, model prediction was true. It was originally true as well. We have different feature values for all the features. And then we have a graph containing local explanation for that example. So again, the class column has the highest impact on the prediction. In the end, we will delete our model to clear up the resources. So that's how explainability in SageMaker works. So we have already learned that when we start framing a problem into a machine learning problem, we need to consider the potential biases in the dataset or the biases after model training, etc. So SageMaker helps us here. And SageMaker Clarify provides us a mechanism to detect bias and mitigate the issues. So basically, SageMaker Clarify is a service that can help us with greater visibility into our training data and models so that we can identify and limit bias. Biases are imbalances in the training data or the prediction behavior of the model across different groups. So it can be biased towards a sensitive group, that can be a demographic group, or it can be sensitive towards a specific gender. So in case you want to detect bias in your data with Clarify, so it can identify imbalances. It can even check our trained model for the biases. It can monitor our model, monitor the predictions, and understand the biases. Now let's go back to our studio notebook and start working. So basically, Amazon SageMaker Clarify can measure bias before training and after training. So the before training measurements are designed to detect and measure bias in the raw data before it is even used to train a model. And the metrics used are model agnostic because they do not depend on any model outputs. Then we have few terms such as feature, an individual measurable property of a phenomena being observed. We have a label that would be a target for training a machine learning model. We have a predicted label, that is the label predicted by the model. We have a sample, that is an observed entity described by feature values and the label value. We know about the dataset, a collection of samples, and bias is basically the imbalance in the training data or the prediction behavior of the model across different groups. We have bias metric. That's a function that would return numerical values indicating the level of a potential bias. And the report would be collection of metrics for a given dataset. Positive label values are values that are favorable to a demographic group observed in a sample. And then negative label values that are unfavorable to a demographic group observed in a sample. We also have a group variable. So that would be a column in the dataset that is used to form subgroups for the measurement of conditional demographic disparity. We have a facet that would be a column or feature that contains the attributes with respect to which bias is measured. For example, in your dataset, you have a column gender, and sometimes the model is biased toward females, so that would be your facet. Facet value is the feature value of the facet, and it is the feature values of attributes that bias might favor or disfavor. We have predicted probability of a sample having a positive or negative outcome. So for this demo, we are doing the same process. We are getting our bucket, role, region, some SageMaker imports. Other than that, we have SageMaker Clarify. We have to import the bias report, and we are using a data set which is already available in SageMaker Clarify. That is a German lending dataset, and we can use this German lending readable values function to transform the values to human readable strings. And these are the columns: checking account credit status, maturity months, credit history, etc. So, and the target values are ones and zeros. So this is the human readable dataset. We have the purpose, loan amount, savings, employment, sex and status. Then we have property, age, and other factors. We can plot and see there are many foreign workers. And then we can call our Clarify to get pre-training bias metrics. So for example, we want to know if the process is more hostile for foreign workers, then we will select foreign worker as a facet column, the column that is sensitive, and the group variable is housing. Then we will call the bias report function. It will provide us a report like this. We have different matrices which are used to detect bias or to measure bias, such as conditional demographic disparity, difference in positive proportion in labels. We have Kullback, Lieber, divergence, etc. So this long list of metrics can help us understand our data and find out if there is bias present in the data. If dataset has bias, then trained model will definitely have bias. So if we find some unexpected values here, we can resolve them. We can also measure the bias for age attribute, and we can say that the number 40 should be checked. So this way we can collect bias report for any column before training. Now let's move ahead and perform our training. For training, we are splitting the dataset into test and training. We have to encode our dataset to pass to any algorithm. So our dataset should not have string values. String values should be converted to numeric values. So we have to go through each column, and if the type is object, we need to convert it. We can see these columns have been converted, checking account status, credit history, etc. These columns have been converted. Now, this is the new dataset we have. We have target in numeric form, checking account status, and maturity months, etc. Everything is numeric now. Next, we will upload our data to S3. We will call a linear learner estimator to perform binary classification, and the training job is completed. Then we are going to call SageMaker Clarify. So SageMaker Clarify also creates a job and runs a set of algorithms to detect the presence of bias in the attributes we have provided. After the algorithm runs, SageMaker Clarify provides us a report with a description of the sources and severity of possible bias. So we need to have a model created so that SageMaker Clarify can use that model. We have to prepare a container for our model. Next step is to call the Clarify processor. We will provide it role, instance count, instance type, and session. We can use a smaller instance here. Next step is to provide data configuration. So we have input data that is stored in S3. We have to provide an output path to store our report. We have to provide the target label, header of the data, and the type of data. Then we are going to provide model configuration. We have a model name, instance type to create the model, instance type to hold the model or create an endpoint which Clarify will use to get predictions. We also have model predicted label configuration. So the algorithm, the linear learner, will provide us with some probabilities, and we need to apply that threshold on the probability to get the final label. So we are saying that 0.8 means class is 1, otherwise class is 0. Then we need to apply bias configuration, that would be a foreign worker and age as a facet and the values where they are sensitive or we want to know about. Next step is to run this bias job. We can see all the status of the job here. So once the job is completed, we can go to our experiments and trials tab in SageMaker Studio. Go to unassigned trial components because we did not assign any experiment with our job. So we can see here Clarify bias job. So let's open the trial details. And then we have this bias report. We have a detail about each variable. We have conditional demographic disparity. So it has information about each metric. So this metric examines whether in the training data, the disadvantaged class has a bigger proportion of the rejected outcomes than the proportion of accepted outcomes for the same class. We have class imbalance, etc. We can also take a look at the table. That is a more precise and concise way of taking a look at all the variables at once. So this is how we can take a look at the metrics. And if we go back to our notebook, in the end, we can get the output path for our S3 location of the bias report. In the end, don't forget to delete the model to clear up resources. So that's how we can detect bias pre-training and post-training using SageMaker Clarify. In this course, we have explored some advanced functionality in SageMaker. So we learned about the supported frameworks such as Chainer, PyTorch, TensorFlow, and R. We also trained a Keras TensorFlow model using script mode. We initialized Amazon EMR cluster and learned to connect it with our SageMaker Studio notebook with a very easy step. And then we saved the cost of our training job by using managed spot training and also saved the time by using incremental training with our image classification algorithm. There are two options for distributed training in SageMaker: data parallel techniques and model parallel techniques. We learned about these and then applied data parallel technique to our TensorFlow model. We used SageMaker Autopilot to learn more about the experiments, trial, and trial components. We use SageMaker Debugger to debug the model performance, and then we use SageMaker Clarify to detect bias and explain machine learning decisions. Coming up next, we have AWS AI ML services.